Good morning, friends. For those gathered in the sanctuary this morning, this is my opportunity to say good morning and welcome to all of you who gathered in on this, hopefully a beautiful Sunday morning for you all. I am away visiting with my daughter this weekend, and I'm sure at this point we're having a great time Sunday morning, so we're probably wishing her farewell and heading on the road ourselves very soon so we can make it home by this evening. Today is Reformation Sunday. It's that chance to hear the familiar battle hymn that we have as Lutherans. A Mighty Fortress is Our God. I know Jamie had selected a wonderful video rendition that we heard here in worship in the sanctuary. And for those who are watching this on a video worship at home, I sang that and provided the lyrics for those at home to sing along as well. Starts out with that, a mighty fortress is our God line that is so ingrained in us. Even if we don't remember the rest of the words off the top of our heads, we know those words. What does it mean, though, that our God is a mighty fortress? Do you remember as kids building a blanket fort in your bedroom, or maybe if your parents were kind enough and they allowed you to do it in the living room or the family room? Or maybe your own children built one of those blanket forts. You know, they gather all the chairs together and pillows and throw all the blankets over them and they crawl on underneath there. I've watched my boys do this a number of times where the blankets get piled up in our living room over all the chairs, and even with the bunk beds that we have in one of the boys' rooms, you know, sometimes you walk in there and all of a sudden the blankets are just draped over everything and you got to crawl through all the blankets to make sure your kid is actually in there. There's something comforting about a blanket fort. You go in there with your flashlight and maybe a book to read. You go in there with your favorite stuffed animals. Or you just go in there with your siblings or your friends if they're over for a sleepover, and you just spend your time. All the rest of the world is gone. You just sit in there and laugh with each other as you share jokes. You just sit in the silence with one another and are just feeling the most secure you can feel. Sometimes it's a place we go because we are facing real dreads. There's really scary things out there, and we just need somewhere to go to protect us. And so it's not just a fun place, but a place which for some is a real necessary place to feel that security and that safety and that protection. Whatever scary thing is really out there. I remind us of these blanket forts and the comfort they provide, because when we sing, "A mighty fortress is our God," that is what Martin Luther is attempting to get us to realize about who God is. God is a place where we can be protected and secure from all the struggles and troubles of the world. A place where when we go into this fortress, everything else just melts away. Luther drew inspiration from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. We are dealing with a lot of troubles right now. We have highlighted the pandemic numerous times, mostly because it continues to be an ongoing trouble for us. Even as I am traveling this weekend, I am keenly aware of all the difficulties this pandemic is placing on us. We are limiting our exposure to being out of the vehicle in places where we know the cases are higher. We are limiting our contacts with large crowds. We're wearing our masks whenever we are out in public. We are reducing the amount of people that we are seeing. It's just one big trouble. And if it weren't for the fact that my daughter is a freshman and I really want to experience what that means as a dad to go visit my freshman daughter at college, I might have ordinarily skipped this weekend. But troubles aside, we are working our way through it. But we can't ignore that these are troubles. The pandemic is not the only trouble that we are faced with. We deal with continuing cultural troubles as justice issues continue to be confronted on a daily basis. People of color continue to cry out for justice for people who are being abused and mistreated by police and other law enforcement agents. Huge trouble in our world. We want it to go away. We want the pandemic to go away. We want all the politic nonsense to go away. The bickering between the two political candidates for president, the ideologies that clash from the two political parties that lead our politics in our country right now. We want it all to go away. We definitely want the ads as we approach the election to go away. They're nothing but trouble. Those are all global scale troubles. That's not to speak of individual troubles that we might be dealing with personally. Troubles that might border on a great amount of anxieties about work security, income security, housing security, troubles that deal with childcare security as we deal with our schools changing again their strategy for educating our children this year as they go to a hybrid system here in Monmouth, and in United are already in a different format, and other districts around us have other ways of dealing with this. It's troublesome for parents right now, and grandparents and neighbors who are all sharing the burden of how we are getting through this. All right, so who wants to build that blanket fort with me right now? I think here in our sanctuary, we got enough pews. We can bring in some quilts, every one of us from our own homes. We can just throw them over the pews, right? And curl up underneath them with our flashlights. We've got our hymnals. We'll bring them back out. We'll gather underneath those things and sing what we can sing. Well, as much of a nice fantasy as that is, we're not able to do that. But we need a refuge, don't we? We need a place to go to give us security and to assure us everything's going to be okay, to give us hope. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. That is how the ancient psalmist phrased it. Our ancient ancestors in faith sang this song over and over again. Martin Luther gave it a new twist. He said, "A mighty fortress is our God. A sword and shield victorious." I think out of this hymn, my favorite line is in the final verse. "Were they to take our house, goods, honor, child, or spouse, though life be wretched away, they cannot win the day." How's that for an expression of hope? When everything is against us, when everything seems to be ripping away the very fabric of normal life from us, none of that is going to win the day. The kingdom's ours forever. This is the promise of our great God. This is how God is a very present help in trouble. By guaranteeing us, through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, that God's kingdom is ours forever. And that seems to clash with the fact that we still have to deal with these struggles. But I think the key is found in that we are going through these struggles together. We're not alone. We may not have a blanket fort to gather into, but we do have this sanctuary. And for those who are not yet gathering back in this sanctuary, we do have the social media where we can connect with one another. We have phone calls where we can connect with one another. We're able to share our burdens with one another through emails and text messages and phone calls. We're able to say to one another, yeah, there's a lot of troubles, but yeah, we're getting through this together. I know we want to crawl into that blanket fort, but we have something greater than a blanket fort. We have our God. Our God who reminds us that we can be still in the midst of all these troubles. That we can take comfort in the hope that God offers us, and that we can lean on one another and share these burdens and carry each other through. This is what it looks like when we say the kingdom is ours forever. It's our giving one another a message of hope when needed. It's our sharing the burden of childcare and education with one another. It's our saying to one another, we will assist you when you have needs, and we're going to make it. Martin Luther certainly understood the struggles of what it meant to have everything taken away from him. When he was writing this hymn in the 1520s, he had already been declared an outlaw by the Holy Roman Church. And not only by the Church, but also by the Holy Roman Empire. What it meant to be an outlaw in those days was anybody could have killed Martin Luther for any reason whatsoever and faced zero consequences. He was a marked man. He lost the freedom to travel around Germany. He lost the freedom of going to the holy city of Rome. But in the midst of all those troubles, Luther found that relying on friends was what was going to get him through. In fact, at one point, some of his friends conspired. They didn't even tell Martin that they were going to do this. They conspired and kidnapped him when they knew he was going to ride into a trap. His friends came in, kidnapped him, and took him and hid him away to protect him. And after a year of hiding, he came out of that and reemerged and discovered what it means that God is a refuge, a very present help in time of trouble. Throughout the rest of his ministry, he never felt like he was burdened by all these troubles around him. He felt the freedom that came from being secure in that mighty fortress that is our God. This is the faith that he wanted to pass on through his teachings, and this is the faith that we continue to pass on as we carry on the legacy of his teachings and the Reformation era. We teach that despite all the troubles that are around us and are harassing us, we have a God who is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in our time of trouble. And we experience that together as we live together in the kingdom which God has made for us. Maybe I've inspired some of us to go home and build a blanket fort with our children or grandchildren tonight. Maybe that'll be a way that we can teach our kids and our grandkids something about who God is. To remind them that there is a place of refuge, a place of strength, a place of help in the time of our trouble. And that place is our God and the kingdom that he has made ours forever. Amen.